Well, hey there. My name is Matthew Corey, and yes, I used to be a Satanist and a mobster. I've got my book that I've written called From Hell to Heaven, and I'm gonna put a description of it and a link below so that you can go read it. But yeah, it took me a long time before I really came to know Christ. I grew up. In a very legalistic home. There was this a fellow named Bill Gothard who ran the Institute in Basic Life Principles and had a homeschooling group that my parents became a part of. I grew up as a kid. I became a Christian at age 5. I grew up around very spiritually sound people, people who love the Lord, and we had some great charismatic church, a great charismatic church that we went to when I was a child, and also a Baptist church that we went to when I was a child that were great. I lived in Virginia. That's where I'm originally from. I live in Oklahoma now, and my parents, as a result of this organization called IBLP, or Institute in Basic Life Principles, by Bill Gothard's group. They came to Oklahoma City, and my dad worked in one of their centers. They had different centers around the country and around the world. They kind of were like a cult. There were a lot of strict rules and things like that that they imposed on people who joined their group, their organization. And so I grew up homeschooled. I grew up working in one of their centers, and I thought it was fun when I was a kid. I didn't mind it at all. But as I got older and I became a teenager, I started. I think sexual sin and lust really came into my life at an early age, and that's what caused me to rebel more than anything as a teenager. Because I wanted to have a girlfriend, and I wanted to have sex, and I wanted to go party, and I wanted to have fun. But some of it was just wanting to be like a normal teenager. And wanting to, experience life around other kids in high school and stuff like that. But as a result of my rebelling in my teenage years, my parents made me work with my dad at this Christian center that was part of this Christian cult group run by Bill Gothard. And I decided I wanted to be a movie star, an actor. I actually I read the Left Behind series, and I got so enthralled with the Antichrist, Nikolai Carpathia, in the Left Behind series. I wanted to be just like him, and I wanted to be the Antichrist for a long time when I was a teenager. And that also happened later on as I got older. When I got into drugs, I started believing that I was going to be the Antichrist too, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But anyway, so I just, decided, well, I'd like to be somebody famous, maybe a movie star, an actor, the Antichrist or something like that. When I was a teenager, I was so sheltered that, I didn't live in reality. I was living in like this fantasy world that of my own making, and so my parents decided, oh man, this is trouble. We got to have him working with his dad all the time. So they made me work down at the center down there. Well, as I got older, I wanted to be like a movie star, a rock star or something. My dad told me, he said, Matt, you don't have the charisma to be a movie star or a rock star. And I was like, oh, dude, what does that mean, Dad? I had no idea what he was talking about. He said, well, that means you draw people to you. You have that special thing. Now, your younger brother has a lot of that. And I was just like, oh, it just crushed my self-confidence. My dad's come a long way since then, and he's asked my forgiveness for making that statement. But, as I got older, I started becoming more introverted. And, I started really not wanting to follow God, and really becoming rebellious towards God and not just my parents. And as I got into my early 20s and my late teens, I started partying. I got some freedom, so I went out and started partying. And I started experimenting with Satanism for some period of my life when I was a child, and as a young adult I'd also wanted to be I'd also wanted to be a film director. So I started looking at like George Lucas and Star Wars and some of the things he got into. He got into the occult when he did Star Wars. And there was a book called Tales of Powers by Carlos Castaneda that he got into, and where the Force actually came from. And and that was sort of a little bit of a segue into me getting into Satanism, was through wanting to be a film director. So I started, reading the Satanic Bible. I started calling on Satan for power. I remember I was at one particular party where things were going down between me and this other guy over this girl, and I just remember calling out to Satan, saying, "Am I not in your service? Give me power to overcome this guy." And later on that night, we got into a fight, and sure enough, me and my buddies, beat him up, and we took off after that. And man, I'm telling you, as I got older, I started sort of getting out of Satanism, going back more towards the Lord. But as I got older, I started getting into multi-level marketing and, into business. And I was in business with my dad. And I started straying away from the Lord again and getting back into Satanism. And I started doing things that were basically would classify me as a mobster. I started threatening people in my dad's company who were working with him if they didn't do what we wanted them to do. I started to just take on this mafia personality and begin to get in trouble with the police. I've been in trouble with the police a number of times, been to jail 4 or 5 times, almost went to prison twice. Actually have assault and battery charge against a police officer on my record right now, and I fortunately got out of probation for that just this last year. But I was searching, and I during my early 20s, I would just read the Satanic Bible online, and my motto became what one of the verses from the Satanic Bible is, which is "Do as thou wilt," and that's what became my motto. Was like, I want the prettiest woman, the most gorgeous woman. I want to, man, I just want what this world has to offer: the power, the money, everything. And it's funny because my dad and I were getting into the Christian video business because we thought we were going to be like Veggie Tales. So we came up with a little video called Character Tales, which was about 30 minutes long. And we worked with these guys over in Bosnia, over in Eastern Europe. And I was about 25 at the time. I was a mobster. I was, threatening people. I was, I threatened to kill police officers, all kinds of stuff. At that particular time, I hadn't done that yet, but I did later on. And and so I went and I visited these guys in Bosnia who we were working with to do the animation for this video, because we thought we were going to make millions of dollars and be just like Veggie Tales, and we did doing a Christian animated video. And I got in touch with them and went over there, and I was into drugs at this time. I had gotten into smoking marijuana, and I thought that I was going to become the Antichrist and move over to Europe and become a political leader, and that I was going to go to the UN and take over the world. I mean, that's what I started thinking. But when I came back from Bosnia, I took some LSD. And man, whew, that rocked my world, man. I'm telling you, that stuff just blew me for a loop. I've been on prescription drugs ever since. I have to take prescription drugs for bipolar now, and I take anxiety medicine. And I mean, I had chronic anxiety for years, and the Lord's just recently healed me of that. But after I got into drugs was really when I started coming back to the Lord. I still maintained that mafia lifestyle for, working in my dad's business for a number of years. Even after I became a Christian, I thought at some point I thought I could become I could be a mobster and be a Christian. And the two just don't go hand in hand, And it was really after I assaulted a police officer that the Lord just brought me full circle and said, "Matt, you know, you can say you're a Christian and do all that, but you're gonna go do all this stuff. You're gonna be a criminal, and you're gonna be assaulting police officers and getting into trouble and acting like you're some guy in the mafia and be a Christian. I mean, how's that gonna work? You know, and so ultimately, you know, through my drug usage and through just some trials in my life, I just came full circle back to my relationship with the Lord and with Jesus Christ. And I mean, crazy stuff has happened, man. I mean, I one time I tried to become a hitman for the Cuban cartels, and they turned me down. I mean, I went to I went to a friend of mine who was part of the Cuban cartels, a cocaine dealer, you know, and told him, yeah, man, if you want me to go kill people, I'll go kill people for you. And he turned me down. This was years ago. This was like over 10 years ago. So, pardon me. So the Lord has brought me through a lot, and I'm just so grateful to have the Lord in my life. And you know, I think one of the greatest verses in the Bible is, and this is life eternal, that they may know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent. And that's how I live my life now, is serving God and serving others. And hopefully I'll have some more words of encouragement and wisdom for you on this channel. But I hope you enjoyed just a little bit about my testimony. And like I say, again, if you really want to get the full story with, I mean, all the details, then go check out my book that I've got the link below for, called From Hell to Heaven. So God bless you, and look forward to talking to you in the future.